Guild Wars 2 has many possibilities for builds, but today I want to show you one build for Mesmer and particularly Virtuoso that you can play in every single game mode, and it works very, very well. So without much further ado, let's jump right in. So this is the first part of a series where I showcase a specific class build that is working in every single game mode to a very high degree and is very easy for new people to pick up. If you don't want to change a lot of gear, if you want to stick to one build to learn it perfectly and to just be accustomed to one thing and play it everywhere. If you are someone like that, be sure to watch the entire video to not miss out on any particular intricacy. I will start by explaining a little bit about Virtuoso. If you already know about it, be sure to skip to the next chapter. So Virtuoso is the elite spec for Mesmer that was introduced with End of Dragons, and it's really, really strong because it gets access to blades. So whenever you would create a clone, so that means when you create it with an attack or you would create it by destroying a phantasm, then you will get a blade. Those blades are shown here on top, and whenever you have them, you can use your shatter skills, that they are now blade songs. Those are projectiles to 1200 range, really, really strong. Of course, try to use them with 5 blades because then they are way stronger and give you way more damage, especially F1 and F2. F3 is a nice daze and F4 is a nice invulnerability that scales with the amount of blades that you have. The F5 is just some more damage, also instant cast. The F3 to F1 are actually not instant cast, but they have a short cast time, so when you have quickness, they can be really fast. Everything that works with clones and phantasms also refers to your blades. So I will go over every single game mode. I will start with PvE, then go to World vs. World, and lastly go to PvP. The build itself stays mostly the same. We have to do some minor trait changes, or in PvP especially, we have to also change the gear, of course, because we use normal gear in PvP and not the gear from PvE. But I will talk about it. Also want to quickly explain how it's played and, of course, showcase a lot of it. So let's start with PvE. So for PvE, we want to play full Marauder armor with Fire Rocks rune. The reason for that is we want to get some more vitality, get a nice amount of precision, and you can see with full armor of Marauder and full Demolishers trinkets as well as full Demolishers weapons, you get almost exactly 60%, which is exactly what we need to crit cap. You will see in a second why. With the Fireworks rune, you get 25% boon duration. That helps a lot, just because you actually get a lot of boons with this build as well. Just perfect. If you can afford stat infusions, I would go for the power infusions, of course. For weapons, we want to use Spear and Dagger Shield. I know this setup is using almost every expansion that there is, so if you want to minimize the expansions here, you can also swap the Spear for Greatsword if you want to go for a non-Chantival's version. And if you want to go for a non-Soto version, you can change the shield for offense sword. So for the weapons, you want to go with Sigil of Energy and Sigil of Cleansing on both of them, just for more defense. This build is optimized in a way that you can use it exactly with the same gear in World vs. World as well. If you can min-max a little bit more, then you could swap the sigils to something more aggressive in PvE, but for World vs. World, this is very important that you have those sigils. For the relic slot, you have to go with Relic of Sakiros. It's so good, it's very, very strong. Reason for that is you get 4% of your outgoing damage while you're under the effects of Fury, which you are 100%. All this critical strike damage that you do will be transformed into 4% healing. That's a lot. If you do a lot of damage, that's a lot. The other option here would be Relic of the Defender. Both of them are totally viable. I would say in PvE, the Relic of Sakiros is actually stronger, but in World vs. World, the Relic of the Defender is stronger. We will get to that in a second. The Relic of the Defender is the positive that you can easily buy it from the TP. So if you're looking for that, that's the replacement. Before I go to the traits, I want to mention that if you want a Virtuoso build that is even more optimized for solo play and is even capable of soloing legendary bounties, check out this video. And if you're interested in the most optimal build for instance content in PvE, check out this video. But like I said, this build is perfectly capable of doing both too. So let's continue with the traits, shall we? Let's quickly go to the traits. So for the traits, you want to run Domination, Dueling and Virtuoso. In Dueling, you get a lot of vulnerability up with your minor traits, and then you get some more vulnerability on your shatter skills, and every single blade will inflict this vulnerability. Really, really good. Then you get more damage increase and even more damage increase and nice boon removal with your CCs. So overall, very important trait line for damage. Then Dueling gives you some nice vigor uptime, gives you some nice Fury, 100% Fury uptime, really, really good. Because Fury with Virtuoso gives you 40% crit chance. So that means with the 60% baseline, we have 100% crit chance. Really, really good. Then more Vigor. Together with this, you have 100% Vigor uptime. Then when you evade, you get a 2-second reflect projectiles. Really, really good, especially in PvE, because you can actually upkeep that 100% if you would dodge all the time, but still very good. And then you get some more damage increase. Really, really good. So overall, those two trait lines, a lot of aggressiveness, a lot of nice boons. So really, really good. Virtuoso is the more defensive one. So Virtuoso gives you H's on Blade Songs. You can actually, if you don't run Defender Relic, you can swap to this for even more damage. But I would say if you want to play a bit more safe, this is actually really, really good. Especially with the Defender Relic, you give so much blocks and H's just from using your Blade Songs consistently. It's really, really good. Then more damage. And like I said here, crit chance increase, and you get ferocity based on your vitality, so that's really good. So if you can afford a Jade Core bot tier 10, you can get a lot of vitality, which then gets converted into ferocity, so you get even more damage. So if you want to go for highest amount of vitality with the Jade bot core, that's even more worth it here. Then you got blocking or dodging and attack grants boons. This is really strong. So whenever you block or dodge every 3 seconds, you get quickness, fury, and regen for over 3 seconds. It's really, really good. So don't underestimate that. Really, really helpful to upkeep regen, quickness. It's really, really good. And then lastly, use Infinite Forge. Automatically stock blades while in combat. But more importantly, you get refunded blades whenever you use them while you have 5. So, and it does more damage. So really good for a power build like our build. Really, really good. Quickly go over the utility skills. You have some really strong healing skill whenever you create a clone or illusion or blade. All of that works. Will give you healing. You can use it to reset your phantasms. You have a lot of phantasms. Really, really good as well. Can be used for damage, can be used for healing. Perfect. You get some nice blink here, so that you can teleport and it's a stun break. You have even more damage and boom removal with the Phantasmal Disenchanter. This can be reset with the healing skill as well. And then you have some nice condition transfer on boon steal. Really good as well. Gives you also quickness. Really, really strong skill. If you want to swap things around, for example, if you want to adjust something to a boss fight or something, you can get more CC here. You can get even invulnerability here. You can get some nice more clones or blades for that matter, or stun break as well. And of course, you can also use, for example, Portal. But like I said, this is the most optimized for playing it in PvE in every single scenario, or playing it even in World vs. World. It's really, really easy. And lastly, we use 1000 cuts. That's the best option for damage. Like I said, you can swap it, for example, for more if you need more CC, but I would say damage is really crazy with this skill. So that's it for the PvE version. I quickly want now to go over the consumables that are also useful for the World vs. World version. So you want to go with the peppercorn crusted sous vide steak if you can afford it, the ascended one, because it gives you minus 10% incoming damage. If you are a little bit on a budget, you can go with bowls of sweet and spicy butternut squash soup, because it gives you the same stats, power and ferocity, but you don't get the minus 10% incoming damage, which is obviously really good. So that helps you solo. It also helps you, of course, in this group scenario. This build can be played solo and in a group. It's really, really good. For utilities, I would go always with Superior Sharpening Stones. It's just the best option, gives you the most power. If you play World vs. World, or if you want to play something even more defensive, you can also go with Bowls of Orient Truffle and Meat Stew, because it gives you 40% more endurance regeneration, which brings you to the cap. That means you can dodge 100% more often. It's really, really good. You get also Might on dodge, which also can help, of course. For the World vs. World version, like I said, you run exactly the same gear. That's the positive about this build. You can use the same gear, the same character, everything the same. Use the same things. Of course, here I would highly recommend to go with Energy and Cleansing if you swap them for PvE. Otherwise, this is the best option for sure. For the Relic slot, I would go with Relic of Defender in World vs. World, just because the Relic of the Defender is more likely to actually work. Because the Securus Relic oftentimes doesn't work that easily if you get corrupted and stuff with the Fury. So I would say the Relic of the Defender here is the best option. And for the traits, we have slight changes here for the traits. I would highly recommend to go with the Blade Turn Refrain because of the Defender Relic. And also it gives you way more defense in World vs. World, where you can, for roaming, typically helps a lot if you have H's and stuff. And you can also swap to Power Block. That gives you some really nasty, long-lasting CC. Whenever you CC someone, the recharge of the skill will be 15 seconds. That's immense. It's really, really good. I would also swap to Shattered Concentration, because every single blade that you hit will remove one boon. So you have amazing boons with this build. It's really crazy. And last but not least, I would swap the Infinite Forge to Psychic Riposte, because whenever you dodge or you evade an attack, you actually stock 2 blades. That helps a lot. But you also get it when you dodge, just 1. Helps also to just get more blades. And that's the important part here. Whenever you dodge, your next blade song will be unblockable. What does that mean? It's not only unblockable by skills that block, so such your block here, but it will also be unreflectable. So that means whenever there is a reflect up, which can happen really frequently in World vs. World, you can actually just ignore it with your blades. Really, really, really good. And that makes this build also viable in Circ play. That's the cool part. You can just play it in Circ, and you will also do amazing damage because your blades actually go through all the reflects. Really, really helpful. So it's just a few trait changes here, and it works perfectly fine for roaming and Circ play as well. Let's quickly cover the utility skills, because I did some changes there as well. I would go for Ether Feast, because the Signet in World vs. World is nerfed, and the Ether Feast gives also nice condicle removal per blade that you have. So that means it removes 6 conditions. It's really, really good. And it heals you even more. So if you have 5 blades, you get on a 20-second cooldown, you get a lot of healing. Then you have Blink, of course, just a stun break and a long range teleport. Really important, always use that. Then always use Blade Renewal. Just invulnerability helps you a lot to get out of sticky situations. It also gives you some nice blades so that you can set up for your next burst or your distortion with a full blade combo. And then I would go for Signet of Midnight because of the stun break that it is and the nice stealth. You can also swap, of course, for other things, but I would say this is the most logical setup in World vs. World. For elite skill, I would always go with Mass Invisibility or Moa. Both of them are fine, but Mass Invisibility helps a lot just to get out of sticky situations if you're chased by 5 people or something. Really, really good. Now let's talk quickly about how your blade is built. Of course, Dagger is your ranged set, so you get a lot of nice range damage, power damage. Just cast them off cooldown. Use your block whenever you need some more defensives. Use your 5 skill for CC and also nice boons. It also blocks missiles, really helpful. And the more aggressive melee set is the Spear. Spear is really important. It has some nice combo to it. So when you hit with the outer ring of this attack, you get the Clarity buff. And with the Clarity buff, the next Spear skill will be empowered. So that means you can empower this to get more might. You can empower this to get more healing. Otherwise, it will just heal and evade an attack and remove conditions. So that's a very nice defensive skill. You can empower your Force skill. Normally, the Force skill would only give you 1 Lancer, but with the empowered, the Clarity buff, you get 2 Lancers. Really helpful because both of them will deal damage, and if they hit a crippled foe, they will immobilize. So that means a lot, because if you hit with 2 of them, they will immobilize and they remove boons. So it's really, really, really good. It's also a nice dash if you want to get out of situations or just engage, really helpful. And lastly, you have a teleport that will deal a lot of damage if you hit it. It's an expanding AoE, and if you empower it, it will also stun. And that's amazing. The stun is really good for setups. So typically you use your 2 skill into your 5. And because the last thing about the 5 is it will also reset your 2 skill. That means that you can use your 2 again to deal even more damage. And then use your 4 to deal more damage with your phantasms. Really, really good. So you would typically use 2 into 5 because of the stun. Use the 2 again. Use the 4 to get the 2 phantasms. And then you have probably deal enough damage to actually kill your enemies. Or in PvE, you would do that combo whenever you have it up. It's really, really good. And of course, use your blade songs whenever you can. Be aware though, they have a short cast time. So you should face your enemy and cast it, then run away or kite them. It's really, really good. And of course, they can be also used in melee range and it's harder to dodge them. So there are multiple ways to play this build, but all of them require you to position correctly. It's really, really good. And I would say it plays almost the same in PvE and World vs. World. As always, if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. But now, let's go to PvP. So let's now talk about the PvP variant. So the PvP variant loses almost the same skill setup like the World vs. World variant. So you have the same Ether Feast, Blink, Signet of Midnight, Blade Renewal. But in PvP, I would highly recommend to use Signet of Humility, just because there you fight very often against one person. You want to kill one target only. That helps a lot. Especially if you can use that and instantly stun someone with the daze so they can't use the evade of the Moa. Really, really helpful. Now let's take a look at the traits. So for the traits, we run exactly the same setup as for World vs. World, with the exception that you go for Mental Focus. Just the damage increase in PvP helps a lot, because you don't want to be often in a 1-on-1. Typically, you want to be more the outnumbered creator, and therefore you want to have more damage. Of course, if you feel more safe, you can also go with the H's again. Again, we go with the power block and the shattered concentration, just because we are in competitive modes. And lastly, talk about the gear. So for gear, you want to go with Berserker. Again, cleansing and energy for the sigils. You want to go with Fireworks Relic, just for the maximum amount of damage. And lastly, you want to go with Rune of Vampirism for a little bit more vitality and power. If you feel too slow, you can also go for Link's Rune, which is also totally fine. It gives you power and movement speed. So that's the gear, and like I said, it plays exactly the same. You are squishy, but you have a lot of damage, you have a nice amount of blocks, invulnerability, so and evades. It's really, really strong. This build is even a meta build right now. It's really, really good. You can see in the background, it's fun to play, it's really good. It plays in every single game mode, very fast-paced, very fun, and like I said, you don't have to switch around your gear. So perfect for new players, perfect for people that want to stick to one build and master it. It's very, very good. Be sure to try it out. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. If you want to know which builds I would consider are the best overall in Guild Wars 2, be sure to check out this tier list. And now, thanks for all my supporters on YouTube, Twitch and Patreon. Thanks Lane, thanks Malice, and I hope to see you all in the next video.